Hello, I'm Tchibinda and this is my video reflection for the AI prototype project. I've built a predictive model in Python using Google Colab and it looks at student habits to predict whether they'll pass or fail. My model uses a random forest classifier and works with the dataset I cleaned and trained it on. In this video, I'll show how I cleaned the data, trained the model and evaluated how well it worked. First, I uploaded the dataset using Google Colab. It has details like study hours, sleep, mental health, exam scores for students. Here's a file that loads it in. I opted for Google Sheets instead of Excel, just for general usability and so it would be easy for the program to navigate to the dataset. So I began by making sure the dataset was all in the correct format and I turned this into a CSV file separated by commas and uploaded this to the file under content and right here. So here is the line that loads it in and here's what it looked like when I printed the first few rows. Some of the columns had messy values like the words varies or unknown, so I used this line to replace them with NAM, which stands for not available, so basically just missing data. Then I used PD to numeric to make sure things like age and study hours were actually treated as numbers. And if the data couldn't be converted, I just told it to mark it as NAM too. Finally, I used the drop NA function to remove any rows that had missing or like incomplete data. That just means the AI will only run from full clean example, so no gaps. So next I had to turn the text I had to turn text into numbers because obviously AI models don't understand words like female or good. So I used label encoder to convert them. So essentially this loop goes through each of the columns and replaces the text with numerical values like female might become, for example, like 0 and male might become 1 and so on. And since the model needs something to predict, I created a new column called passed. And if the student's exam score was 60 or more, it counts as a pass. And if not, it's a fail. This essentially turns the number into a category and it lets me use the classifier as opposed to regression. Come down here. So I then chose which columns the model should learn from, like sleep hours, attendance, mental health, etc. And I used the train test split to essentially divide the data into training and testing sets. So 80% of the data is used to train the model and 20% is used to basically check how accurate it is. I then trained, a random forest classifier, which is a machine algorithm that essentially builds lots of little decision trees and combines them for a better prediction. So here is where the AI learns patterns from the student data. So after training the model, I tested it on 20% of the data that the model had never seen before. And I used an accuracy score to check how well it performed. And I got about 87.5 accuracy. I can run the code so you can see. So these are the first 5 rows of data. Yeah, about 87.5%. And there's some real versus predicted value for reference. And this was just me trying to navigate to student because I was struggling to get it there. And straight back up. So yeah, this basically means the model guessed correctly almost 9 out of 10 times. I learnt a lot from this, especially how messy real data can be. I had to clean it, convert it, and prepare it before I could even use it. I also understood that AI doesn't just magically work, you have to guide it by deciding what data to give it and how to format the data. For example, having to move the data set into sheets to then convert it into a CSV file. The model worked better than I expected, and I'd love to try more models to even visualize which features matter the most. So yeah, thank you for watching. This is my AI prototype, and for predicting student success. It included data cleaning, encoding, model training and evaluation. Everything was done in Python and Google Colab, and the project helped me build a solid understanding of real-world data science. The original template I know used a GUI built with Tchibinda, but I chose not to include that in my version just because I'm using Google Colab for the project and it doesn't quite support interactive desktop windows like Tchibinda. So since Colab runs in the browser, I just decided to focus on writing clean functional code in the notebook itself as opposed to building a GUI. And also for a prototype like this, where the goal is just to demonstrate AI and data processing, the code-based approach was just simpler for me and a little bit more efficient, especially as I'd never used Tchibinda before. So potentially in a future project, I would maybe integrate this into it and maybe use a different IDE. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Sorry if my explanation was a little bit waffly, but I hope you enjoyed, and I will attach this code as a zip file.